asset class mix allocation. This was a quick question that was brought up on the arena. It's a bit lengthy there, so I'm going to kind of just basically summarize it. And last week we touched base on how Keith, he walked through, or it might have been 2 episodes ago, but he walked through a precious metals example in terms of 10% allocation to gold and 4% max allocations to platinum and silver in this example. So in that environment, he would have an 18% exposure. I think it came to 16. So it might have been 3 and 3, to be honest, in regards to the exposures to platinum and silver. So 10, 3, 3 came to 16 total exposure. Now, what happens, as you build up, or as I believe it was John was asking the question in regards to, U.S. equities, right? So if I have, 5 or 6 different positions at, whatever my max is, let's just say my max is 50%. What happens if Keith, adds 2 more positions, right? And so if he adds 2 more positions, that would take me over my 50% asset allocation. And therefore, what should I do? So my good buddy, and I got to call him out because Chris Morio is one of the best around. He is incredibly gracious with his time. So, gentlemen, if you go to that next slide, he's incredibly gracious with his time, and has a brilliant British wit about him. And so he really tries to get right to just keep everybody kind of focused and try to get some people focused back on the task in hand. And really that question, that asset allocation question, is very is kind of tricky to answer because it 100% depends. And as Chris alludes to here, it really depends on your personal situation, right? So he went a bit extreme on the Zuckerberg example in terms of if you've got a boatload of common stock with one that's tied up with whatever options and what have you, right? Your asset mix is going to look a lot different than mine might, which has none of that in there, right? So I think again, it really depends on your personal. This is a bit of a personal, it goes back to the beginning of this call and what I've talked about often this week is you got to really assess your process and assess what makes sense for your portfolio construction and makeup, right? But at the root of it, and again, kind of going back to the core of the question, which is really, to me, the what I'd like to kind of focus on more rather than on like what should it be or how do I handle this is what happens when you do get to your max position, right? So in this example, and again, this example, the max was a 50% allocation to equities, right? And so if it's a 50% allocation to equities and Keith adds 2 more to ETF Pro or, the re-rank product for the multifamily office or what have you, right? Just like two new equities kind of get added. And that's going to bump you up greater than 50%. Then you either have basically have a couple options, but basically, our process is very dynamic. So we're always rotating inventory at the top and the low end of the range. All of you, we say that a lot. And I think it's you understand that at home, right? Within Hedgeye Nation. But in this example, you need to either, patiently wait for the top end of the risk range to sell some of an existing exposure and then do the basic opposite of that and patiently wait for the low end of the risk range on the new inventory that you're adding to your overall exposure. So again, if your min sizing for for an equity ETF is 2%, you would have to find 2%, or, it can be selling 4 positions, 1% each, right? And then adding 2 positions at 2%, that would be, minus 4 plus 4, you would get to that same allocation, right? So you really got to figure out what that looks like for you, right? And what you want to do. But I think the biggest thing here is to not violate your rules. Don't violate your rules and that kind of thing. The other component to this too is rather than just sort of like blanketly, selling down positions across the board, you can be much more strategic about it, right? So strategically make the decision to cut some or all of an exposure that's either not working as well, or not working as you expected, right? And I, again, if the signal is weakening, that's a great spot to go try to curtail and try to narrow down.